Hey guys, Steve here. Today we got a game in the Alabama for you. The Tier 7 American Premium Battleship, of course. Green XP ship. Billy Sims on the screen there. Pretty much a straight up accuracy build with a little dash of anti-fire with Deutsche Dewey coming as the second inspiration on that build. I've liked that build. I've stuck with it for quite a while. Here we got a game on the map Shards, Domination Mode. Now, with this one, we spawn with a cruiser and a battleship. I think the other battleship's a Tirpitz, and you can see one destroyer per side. So immediately, whenever that's the case, you want to keep an eye on those circles. Usually the destroyer is going to move into one of those, so if you see the red team starting to capture one of the caps early, you can say, okay, that's likely where the destroyer is. We spawn C, so we're primarily responsible to play the side. But the reason I picked this game out is it's a good opportunity to, number one, talk about cross-map crossfires or downrange crossfires. And then also, we kind of turn our attention away from C relatively early here, and I'll explain to you why. Because what we're doing here is we're looking for shots that are worth taking over here. And as long as there are shots that are worth taking over here, we're going to continue to take those. But if they dry up, then we're going to go and try and support, because we are going to have opportunities to do that. So initially, New Orleans, we waited. We can kind of guess that he was going to make that turn there just because his options were turn or come straight at us. So we kind of held the shot till he presented enough broadside for us to smack him pretty hard there, and we gave him a nice little nudge. And now we have one more shot that's worth taking over here. We're slowing down. Both these guys are shooting at us, so we do want to angle a little bit. We pull that back turret in behind us and angle steeply at these guys. But the Nagato, just enough broadside to warrant a shot into him. And now we flip the guns to the other side. I want to at least get that back turret thinking about going over there. Whether or not we take a couple shots at this Alabama that's downrange, north of C from us or not. That'll depend on what the Alabama does. But right now, he's angled steeply against us like we are against him. And so neither of us should be shooting at each other right now. We both have better targets available. Now we'll talk a little bit more about the map-specific strategy here as the video goes on. But these are on Shards, or let me rephrase that. Shards is one of the maps where these crossfires where you can support flanks that aren't paying attention are pretty much present all the time. This map, if one team is really shooting across the map like this at the other team that isn't really suspecting it, the team that's doing these type of shots usually is going to win the game, because there's going to be a lot of broadsides here. You can see I'm effectively broadside to these guys. Now, potentially we could angle against these. We would have to turn basically all the way around and angle, towards the guys at sea, and then we could present a nice steep angle at these guys as well. But as long as we're not, shooting all these ships and really getting their attention, we can kind of manage the threats to us. I mean, if these guys on B start to focus us, then we're going to have to adjust our angle and point our ship basically halfway between the Alabama that we're currently angled against and this other group north of B, because, we need to split the difference. But as long as they're not returning fire from B, then we can continue to angle at Alabama. Now, note the Tirpitz, I believe, on my team is leaving C. He's going to go all the way around the island. That's going to prove fatal to this flank, and I think ultimately, not to pick on him, but it's a leading contributor to the loss here. Is I'll try and explain why as the game evolves without picking on the player in general, because doesn't make him a bad person, just made a mistake. But here, we're going to continue to shoot these shots into the sides of the Odin, into the sides of the Ritchie, I believe is the other one. They're going to eventually overwhelm this Bismarck. They're kind of bullying the people in B and really kicking the crap out of them. So even though we're trying to, support them with these juicy shots across the way, if they're going to die very quickly, it's not going to ultimately affect the game. So conceptually, how I would recommend thinking about this is basically me and the other Alabama right now are protected against each other, right? We're both steeply angled at each other. Yes, we can do really minor chip damage. We could switch to HE, get 2,000 damage per salvo and a couple fires here and there. 15 minutes later, we'd probably be the last one standing. We'd be dead last on the scoreboard for both of our teams. And that's typically how you'd see this kind of situation played out, or one player wouldn't play it properly and they would just make a mistake and get killed by the other Alabama. Those are the usual results. But what we would do here, I need to just, for this hypothetical, let's just assume both teams that spawned on B, both the red and blue team, they have 3 ships over there. They're in kind of a 3v3 fight. If I get stalemated against that Alabama, and then I recognize the opportunity to flip the guns over there and get crossfires in those guys, support those 3v3s over there, now we got a 4v3, and we've created a mismatch, a numerical advantage, a ship advantage, out of basically thin air. We've kind of constructed it just based on recognizing the situation. So again, we can't do that whenever, if we're under threat here on this side, or if we have better shots over here, because we need to be primarily responsible for this flank. But we've been stalemated over here for basically ever since that second salvo that went off against the Nagato. I've still been looking for shots. You saw we took one shot at the Nagato, tried to punch through his nose, but he hit the brakes. Getting back to that Tirpitz, though, why I thought he kind of made a mistake that cost us a little bit on this flank was he was checking this Alabama's progress, which allowed us to, create those crossfires, which could have potentially helped turn the tide. Wasn't going to matter if our guys on B all died very quickly as they did. But by going around the island, number one, the Tirpitz took his own guns out of the fight for a few minutes, which I don't ever recommend doing whenever possible. But it also removed the check on the Alabama's forward progress. As soon as that red Alabama noticed that the Tirpitz wasn't there anymore, and that torpedo threat wasn't there anymore, he went forward, he immediately killed the cruiser, and then he began charging me, pushing me back into this crossfire. These guys have now killed their flank over there, and now they're going to kill me. There's basically nothing we can do about it. So, not to pick on the Tirpitz or anything, it was just a critical mistake that ended up sealing the deal on a game that we probably weren't going to win, just based on how quickly everyone else is dead on our team. But as we die here, we still have a few minutes left in the game. I want to continue to use this time because there's more points to be made. Number one, you can be looking for these crossfire opportunities all the time, but kind of to reiterate, the key to this play, in my mind at least, why I think it was an effective play to the extent that it was, again, we recognized, okay, we can't really do anything over here anymore, but we're not going to give up our territory. We're not going to let the Alabama, have this side for free. So we didn't turn away. We didn't sail away from a stalemated side. We stayed there. We still kind of plugged up the holes best we could. But, and then we started looking for those crossfires, which usually those are going to turn the tide, assuming the teams are evenly matched, which sometimes does actually happen. But to apply this technique to Shards, this is one of those maps where if you understand how to play it, you can do a lot better on this map, because these are inherently built into, each team has one side that can attack. So basically, the side that we spawn on, the blue C spawn in this case, or the southern C spawn, we have a crossfire into the north side of B every game. Okay, all we need is a little bit of spotting over there. So if you're in that south side spawn, where we spawn on in this game, on the C side, look for those shots. Again, make sure you're dealing with your C flank first. You don't want to abdicate your responsibility. And I think the strongest criticism of this particular game was maybe we didn't pay enough attention to our flank. But, I could create counter arguments for that. But anyway, south side C can attack the middle side of the enemy team, and the north side A can do the same, the middle B spawn to the southern team. So keep that in mind. Both teams have that. If you spawn on the north side of A, if you spawn on the south side of C, look to apply that crossfire early. Usually if you can protect yourself on your flank, wipe out B very quickly. That'll allow your teammates that are on B to assist on both flanks, and your team should overwhelm. Number one, they'll capture the middle, which is critical to this map, and then hopefully they make good decisions when evaluating which flank to support, and then they can go over there and help wipe that out. Then you'll control the center and a flank, and you should win. Of course, that's the domination mode strategy. But, you need to be aware, no matter where you spawn on the map, that those possibilities exist. If you spawn in the middle, you got to know that one side does have access to your sides. You got to keep an eye on them, make sure they're not shooting you, vice versa. The middle can also shoot the sides that can shoot them, of course. So keep an eye on your flanks in this map and understand how to do it, but that should hopefully help you out. Anyway, that's a look at the Alabama for you guys. Hopefully you did enjoy that one. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave below. I'd love to hear from you guys, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.